Right, greetings everybody. Robin here from Courage is the Cure. Welcome to a special episode of Relentless, episode 132. Today we're going to be talking about the fight for sea country with Martine Shepherd and Mason Jones here in Western Australia. I'll see you all in a jiffy. Alrighty, greetings everybody. Like I said, welcome to episode 132 of Relentless. It is a special report on a Saturday morning, the 10th of January 2026. As I said, we're here to talk about the fight for sea country in Western Australia with Martine Shepherd and Mason Jones. Please make sure you share the show because undoubtedly this show will be heavily shadow banned because of the topic we're talking to, and also because of the people I have on the show today. It's my great pleasure to welcome Martine Shepherd. She's an environmental protection, marine science and coastal zone management specialist, campaign coordinator for Save Our Beloved Geographe Bay and Edge Radio Australia presenter, not a stranger to Relentless, and also the co-host of today's special report. Good morning, Martine. How are you?
Hello, Robin. Yeah, I'm great. Very good indeed.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And as I said, you are the co-host today because you are a specialist in this area. You have much more information and knowledge about this topic than I do. And because it is such an important issue, it's vital that you are here today to steer the conversation with our guest today, who is Mason Jones. Mason is a fishing activist and wind farm protester from Bunbury in Western Australia. And I'll bring Mason on to the stage. Good morning, Mason. How are you? Have we lost you?
I hope not.
I hope not too.
There he is.
Hello. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Martine. Sorry, I'm just swapping up my connection. I'm having a bit of...
Not a problem at all.
We know what this is like.
There we go.
Fantastic. So, in preparation, obviously, for today, with new guests, I like to have a bit of a biography, and you very kindly sent one through.
I think the kids have jumped on the internet.
Well, it's school holidays, Miss Julian Grant. Your ban, is it working? I don't know. Let me know when you can hear me again, Mason. But maybe, Martine, do you want to just inform everybody about your background and perhaps Mason until we get him back as well?
Sure. Look, I think today is a conversation that's wanted to be had for a long time, Robin. As most people that have probably watched myself and Alex Nichol on Relentless, am I allowed to say her name too? We'll both get banned. Anyway, so we've been fighting back against the wind turbines in Western Australia, and with the symposium that was powerful, so incredible when Megan Lapp came all the way from the USA to talk about the implications of the offshore wind turbine industry in Western Australia and in Victoria also. Let me adjust that. Is that the US Department of Interior and the US government has been heavily investigating all the issues that were kind of swept under the carpet. And so Megan got into quite a lot of that. And the two big things that came up was that there's radar interference, which is about the Department of Defense and national security risk, as well as it interferes with radar so that if there's nearby airstrips, so City of Bustleton, get your ears on. You should be out there questioning how it's going to affect radar for the Bustleton airstrip with all those FIFO workers flying in and out. Also the Bunbury airfield, where they have the water bombers coming in and out, and it's also its pilot school. So there's so much questioning there, but also the other thing that Megan really highlighted is how the fishermen have standing when it comes to legal action in stopping the wind turbine industry, because that's where they spend all their time as commercial fishing. And of course, only days after Megan had departed Australia and that had been announced, and a number of people have said that, they're getting legal advice. Wow, in comes the demersal fishing ban. So I've just prefaced there, Mason, in case you missed that the fact that the offshore wind turbine industry is trying to put in infrastructure in Geographe Bay, in a beautiful area that's not only incredibly pristine, but as far as I'm concerned, it has huge significance for many, many different groups, and the impact of that, including the impact on radar, national security, and the effect on fishermen it was going to already make, and that fishermen would have had standing in court or for legal action to push back against the wind turbine industry. So this is how I managed to get in contact with Mason and say, I think you and I need to have some conversations. And from that, I could see that Mason and I had so much in common in the way that we had such a vast awareness of the issues, and we're on the same page about we're both so sick of divisiveness in this nation, and hence why I felt like it was vital to get him on not only Edge Radio Australia, and obviously it was going to be Martine's Eco Country Bites, but yeah, we'll do that another time, but definitely on Relentless to get that message out there, because people need to really comprehend just how dodgy all of this is, that the cooked data by the Department of Fisheries in Western Australia and that Jarvis person, she's definitely one to be questioning, and Don Punt as well that came before. There is a whole bunch of data. I mean, I've already interviewed fishermen that have blown the whistle, especially Whitey, who said that they had GPS points pre-selected because they were on sand patches where you weren't going to find large amounts of predatory demersal fish, and that was going to prove the data they wanted or needed to cancel the industry, which, I've kind of known about this stuff going on for a long time. That's actually what I studied at uni. So I know how it is that you can cook the data if you want to, but, asking for transparency and straight answers, none of that with Labor, none of that with this. We're going to 100%. Keep asking, and we're going to put the screws right into them, because I tell you right now, throwing entire communities, like you've got to think about all those coastal communities north of Perth, they all rely on that entire fishing industry, not just rock lobster, but demersal as well. And people are hurting. I'm really angry. I'm angry because I know that a lot of this move so fast was connected to stopping the wind turbines as well. I know it's connected. Believe it in my soul.
Just for people that are joining us in the show, all three of us on stage here today are in Western Australia, on the west coast of Australia. Imagine that. And just for a bit of background, Western Australia has imposed a long-term shutdown on demersal fishing across the west coast in response to a severe stock depletion And I guess that's what you're referring to about the cook data
Actually,
there,
the word
Martine.
was extinction. They were concerned about the extinction. Now, a fish that no fishing stock that we've ever known has ever gone into extinction. So the fact that they use words that are incorrect, and the data doesn't support that, shows that they're cooking this. They said extinction of these species, which is light, and it's a permanent ban ongoing from now. So that means it's never coming back as far as they're concerned when it comes to the commercial. Just so you know, that's the clarification of what's happened.
And so they still haven't listed these species on any record, national or worldwide record, because when you list an animal as extinct, they need to be listed. And this goes to a world, it's like a World Animal Committee almost, where they monitor, where different parts of the world can monitor and get together and put their input in. There's been no register of this animal, and even on Australian fishery pages, legit government pages, it's still listed as recovery. So they're not extinct.
Well, I just want to let people know, this includes, the stock depletion that they're referring to. Extinction is fish like jewfish and pink snapper. For any good Australian, that's the fish that we all love. That's the fish that you get at the fresh fish market or the fish and chip shop. This is a permanent ban, and along with a recreational boat-based demersal fishing closure as well. So they've essentially locked down the oceans, for lack of a better description. Is that fair to say?
That's pretty much what they've summed it up as, that they got to sell it as it's for the better of our people, the future of our kids. If we don't do this, there's going to be no fishing. They've pretty much sold it as a pitch as, if we don't do it now, what do we got in the future? I think I've even seen a few politicians refer to it. I find it quite insulting. It's an old Indian saying, only after the last tree is gone, only after the last river is gone. And they started going down that line as to say only after the last fish is gone, is a real kick in the face, because it's nowhere near that.
Reminds me of the Lorax. I was just watching the Lorax. Mason, you've very kindly shared with us a very important website that does give a very detailed map about this. I'm going to pop it up on the stage, and for any Courage is the Cure viewer, we know we can't get away with an episode without screening the share.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mason, can you talk us through it? And Martine, over to you, because I'd love you to steer this conversation. As I said at the start of the show, you are very knowledgeable about this, much more than I am. So here's the map. I just wanted to bring it back a bit so people can see, especially our overseas viewers, and we will focus in to the detailed points. So we are heading over to the west coast, of course. This is where it's at. Mason, over to you. Can you tell us what we're looking at? And Martine, over to you as well.
So pretty much
on this Mason, map, maybe you can do the intro. That'd be great.
So this map is pretty much what commercial guys, boaters will all get to know. This shows different contour lines and what's around. I myself learned a lot about this when I was working commercial boats. It's quite important. You learn your bottom, you learn your ground. But I just want to point out, if we're able to zoom in down towards Busselton, Cape Naturalist area, and we zoom in, so we've got an important reef that's just off the tip of Cape Naturalist there. That's called Naturalist Reef. There's a big reef system that runs all the way through there. But that reef system, if we head north a bit
further north.
Sorry,
Oh,
Giles.
a bit north. There we go.
Right.
Perfect. And then we also have Bunbury in the picture too, so we can see that perfect. But from Bunbury all the way around to Cape Naturalist, there's several reefs that run along there. There's one called the 4 Mile. That pretty much runs all the way from Delhi-Ellup to say all the way along that coast out to Cape Naturalist. But if you note onto what the government has sounded and listed it as, it's all sand and shells. So at no point have they listed rocks, reef, or anything like that. Out in our area off our coasts, once we get out past the 35 metres in depth, we're very unique on the kind of coral that we can grow here. The structure is called blade coral. And it's probably the most southern, as far as I'm aware, it's probably the most southern part in this hemisphere where this kind of coral will grow. When you head up north more further, and I've pushed for studies like this to be conducted for quite a while, when you go up to Geographe, where sea snakes and that harvest, a lot of people don't know we have quite a lot of sea snakes that come through our bay, Cape Naturalist, that get washed down in the currents. You find a lot of them out on these reefs. They use this for protection. They use it for habitat because it's their natural habitat back up in Geographe. And it allows them to sustain themselves along these reefs. But out in the 35s to 40 metres is where they also intend to put these wind farms. The way they conduct and put these wind farms in, they can just bang them in, smash them out. They're going to disrupt the reefs. We don't know if they use concrete. But then we've also got to consider the long-term effects on the reef system out here. This blade coral that grows, it's very fragile. I mean, if you're diving and you're viewing, we've always recommended people keep the distance from it because it is that fragile. The slightest sinker can actually damage it. So what are the vibrations and smashing from these wind farms going to do when they start to drive them into the ground or whatever they need to do? But then we've got to look at the long-term effects of vibrations. You can't say that these wind turbines aren't going to be vibrating into the ground at somewhat. So there's lots of things that they haven't considered with these wind farms in terms of these reef, because a lot of people just look at it and go, oh, it's only sand, it's only gravel, there's nothing out there. It's just a big bay of gravel and sand, which it's not. We've got such a pristine ecosystem out there, from seaweed grass, like the seagrass you see up in Coburn Sound there. They've been doing projects to try and restore their seagrass because it's the snapper breeding ground. The snapper come in to feed and breed on it. And that's what Geographe Bay is. We've got all that through there. We've got the reef systems, but it's not documented. And I begin to wonder why they've never documented it as reef systems or what's through there. But yeah, that's my take on what this map is showing. And I really recommend people start looking at like what we're chatting about here. And we're not going off mainstream media, mainstream research anymore. You've got to actually start to look into other facts, other places to find out what's around, because what they want us to know and what they want people to know is a total different agenda to what they're playing out. They've already, to say that they already pulled the trigger on these wind farms, they've got link up stations already, hook up points. Collie, they've been building this massive battery power operated plant up there. I know we've got, a lot of people don't realise we've got the second largest wind farm up the back of Collie called Ambrosia. That got smashed out and put up quite quick. No one knows about that. That links into that battery, but it's still not big enough for what them wind farms provide. So they're banking that there's another natural resource that's going to be going into them batteries. So that's how far, the extent the government is convinced they're going to be doing these wind farms.
How delusional they are.
Yeah.
Mason, can I just ask? We have raised a number of issues, and even in the EPBC, my submission to that, and from the very beginning, I've said the interruption of the current, especially the Lewin current coming down, and the southern swells that come up and around. I've said, how can this not be of national interest and under a threat of heritage? A recognised heritage area, particularly that the fact that the impact on the salmon runs. And I have said from the beginning, like, this has always been something that's always acknowledged by my friends in the area that are Indigenous or Aboriginal. And as a proud Wardandi man, how do you describe the fact that they're putting this infrastructure out there that's going to have a massive impact on some of those things and many others that are really important to your culture? And that's the conversation that I haven't been able to have on record with people. And I think it's important that people that don't understand all information, you've got someone so informed on both sides of these coin, as you want to say it, because
over the given years, I've been pushing. I know a few of the Aboriginal corporations are starting to look at it now, but for many years ago, I started diving, and I got into diving and going out into the reefs and looking around just random spots. A lot of people don't realise we have freshwater springs out in our ocean. Funnily enough, on some of these springs that I've found, I believe that they're actually ancient camps. How they've laid out, there's actual stones. I've got photos. I haven't shared or documented this stuff as I've wanted to keep it protected till the day that I'm able to get the evidence and provide it and get this stuff protected. But I believe, as we know, global warming's come and sea level rises, and you go back probably thousands of years and you consider where the waterline might have been in it, there's a good chance that those camps were exposed and the sea level wasn't up that high. So there's many camps out there, but the other aspect on it, you point out with the migration of fish and other mammals and that come through there, the whales, being Wardandi, we're saltwater people, we have a strong connection to the ocean. We have many stories and Dreamtime stories. But for us, the whales, a lot of people think the whales come in when they're sick, which we believe is true, because in our Dreamtime stories, the whales actually originate from the land, and that's the whole reason why they come back to land, is to return home. So if all of a sudden this migratory path where the young and the old pass through and use the bay to rest or return back home, are they going to be scared off by the vibrations, the sudden heat change? Because as much as people don't want to say it or call it tinfoil hat, you can't say having 50 wind farms, wind turbines, or whatever you want to call them, in the water, putting heat through the water. We know electricity causes static, so that static will naturally create heat passing through these lines. It might only be a degree or two that it might raise the water temperature around, but that might be enough to affect huge amounts. We're already receiving gold band snapper down here, so you can definitely see the heat changes affecting where the fish are and the fish moving further south. So is that going to affect the water temperature given in the bay? Because it hangs in the bay, it's like a current. And then is that going to push further down south and have further impacts? So there is definitely a lot of cultural, to say, impacts that I've raised. I haven't been big to talk on it because, as I was saying before, I've always wanted to, for me, the bigger picture is for Australia to unite and not have division. But if you force this stuff upon people, I found they don't have an interest and they think it's been shoved down their throat and they've got to accept our history and culture, which my view is more than ever, Australians accept the culture, accept the history, which is great. And that's a way moving forward for us to heal as a country. It's not about just giving away stuff and agreeing stuff or yes or no, that's not right, or having fights about it. It's about being able to sit down and have a discussion and educate each other. I mean, I've got plenty of black friends, plenty of white friends, plenty of Asian friends. Australia is very multicultural, and that's what makes us great. But they use these cultural, Aboriginal, the black, white Australia for so many tools of hurt and so many tools of fighting and division. So I've kind of not voiced my opinion about this stuff and just kept going on, because I do believe we all deserve a right to fish and all have access to this ocean. So I haven't raised the cultural side because I haven't wanted to cop the backlash division side from it. I'd rather us all work together and win it together.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that you've made that really clear, because I think that, you know, there are always people out there that are going to try and throw you under the bus or to hate on you for whatever reason. And to be honest, I'm just so over all of that. I think that by sharing the wisdom, the truth, and being integral with the way that you conduct yourself in these things, it's the only way we're going to really learn and move forward. More than anything, and when you talked about raising the temperature of the water, well, you're correct, because it's the substations that have never been included on any of the artwork. If you go into the DCCEEW website, still no substations are shown, and the substations is what pumps out superheated
100%.
water, and it's tens of thousands of liters a day, and it's got bleach in it, and it's like, wait a second, so we're going to do that over limestone coral reef systems as well as seagrass beds that we've been trying to rehabilitate, but there's not going to be any issue with that. And that's just one issue that should not have even gone ahead, because it's of such vital habitat importance here in Western Australia. So it should have been recognised as a vital habitat, and a habitat of vital importance when it comes to many, many species that are protected alone. And what's interesting is that now they've got this fishing ban. That stance itself goes completely against the fact that they're going to put these installations in, which could cause more die-off. But of course, they want to try and prove that there's no fish stock there before the wind turbine industry comes through, because they know what's happened overseas in Scotland and in the US, where they've destroyed fisheries. And you're right, Mason, it's the vibration that goes through the substrate that burying species and animals that are super sensitive, filter feeders, what happens is they basically die of compounded trauma from the vibration, as well as what happens before, which is the marine survey. And of course, the marine survey is due to happen at any point. So
I've just copied a link and sent it. It's from my phone. I think I sent it to you, Martine.
Okay,
possibly to your phone.
Probably.
I don't know how to bring that up.
I think
I've just
Robin's the only one who has the capacity to share that, though.
Okay. Maybe send that to Robin.
Pop it in the private chat, and then I can put it in the. Well, you should be able to put it in post a comment. Anyway, it's easier for me to do it. Just while you were talking there about the vibrations, so on and so forth. I've just shared a video the other day from Rosalie Woodruff MP in Franklin, and that she was questioning the Premier, saying it's been confirmed the dumping of antibiotics by multinational salmon companies is the reason for a prohibition notice being issued for rock lobster industries in southern Tasmania. And the government previously refused to explain why the notice was issued, only saying it was to safeguard the industry and export markets. I mean, this is you can lie through a mission. And why would they do that? Because they know that whether or not it's a multinational company or not, they're destroying the ocean.
Yeah.
Fish farms are the worst.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that they want to have aquaculture with these ponds around these wind turbines. So I'm thinking, okay, so we know that they're shedding asbestos on land. these dodgy wind turbines. So it's like, so we're going to be ingesting all of that into that? No, I don't think so. That whole reef system, all of Geographe Bay would be just one toxic cesspool if we allow this to go ahead, to have these. And I mean, the same thing happened for the Barramundi sort of up, like they had some stuff going on up north as well. So like if people go and start doing a bit of a check-in, they'll see that there's a bit of a pattern here. And this is where the government no longer represents the people. Let's be honest, they represent corporate. They're nothing but corporate puppets. And they're puppeteers, tell them what to do. And they're like, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full. I mean, the fact that they would ever put tourism, which is the, and fishing, the 2 biggest economy builders for this whole entire area, for Geographe Bay, is tourism and fishing. They put all of that at risk for corporations, literally, and they're all foreign.
Well,
this is
we'll look at what they've done in the south. You look at what they've done in the southwest. Let's just break down. If we were to just look at the southwest of Australia for a second, and we look at what they've taken office in the last 10 years. The farmers copped it. So the cattle, the beef, the lamb, the whole import-export prices through the battle. Recent times, the Kraken. People will understand later on who I'm talking about the Kraken referring to, but I've got to be careful. This person come down and she's got no portfolio, no background of anything of being involved in forestry or whatnot, has come in and shut down forestry. That's another sustainable industry that's run in the southwest by hard-working people. That's always been a hard-working industry by hard-working people, men and women.
I know it's managed very well, actually.
Yep. But
because I used to be part of that management team.
And then on the other hand, you've got multi-billion-dollar companies like Alcoa still being allowed to clear thousands and thousands of hectares of jarrah forest to be able to get their bauxite. So are we shutting it down, or are we allowed to have it open for some? Yeah. So, because that destroyed a lot of men and women and families and companies and businesses in the southwest. So then the ladies then moved on to fishing industry. Someone from forestry that has no portfolio to be even involved in the fishery has now gone, forestry has now come over to the fishery industry. I'm actually baffled. Like, what are you an expert in? Are you expert in forestry, or is this just rotate the ministers into whatever position they feel like, or is it to bring in the hammer because this person's just now known to shut down industries, to come in and shut down another industry because she doesn't care. She's a heartless piece of sea lice. That's come in and shut down a whole nother industry, another one, hard-working industry, sustainable. All these industries give back to our people and allow us you take away the farmers and the meat, right? We now have to depend on the supermarkets. You take away the fishermen, you now have to depend on whatever they put into the supermarkets and whatever they want to feed us, because we can't go out and catch it ourselves. We can't get it from the fishermen. It's starting to look like they're taking away what we can sustain ourselves off as Australians, but also it's more controlling by people that have no idea what they're talking about. I made a bit of a protest and jumping down. This just goes to show how much of a knee-jerk reaction they make. I was the one responsible for dumping some shark heads down Margaret River recently. I went down there that morning. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. I went down there that morning, done it. I'd contacted all the media outlets, let them all know what I'd done. Wasn't hiding. We were proud. We had photos, whatever. Done the interviews with the media outlets. That afternoon, my house was raided. So over a littering and trespass charge, this is what my final outcomes are. Plus cultivation, I had a marijuana plant in my backyard. I smoke a bit of hooch. I got medical marijuana too. I'm not ashamed of that. It's marijuana. It's not meth. They come in and raided my house. They tried to confiscate my phone, but I'd left that actually with one of the media outlets because I knew that they'd want to try and confiscate my phone to silence it. What happened? When I told them I'd already spoken to the media, the police were furious, to which they searched my house, which my 6 kids are in, 3 under 3. They were all very upset. I cooperated, let them go, whatever. Mind you, just to explain, it was 5 police car that pulled up on my front lawn, multiple undercovers, and about 15 police stormed my house, stormed me. I was arrested, taken back to the police station, charged with littering and trespass were the initial charges. So that's what they come to my house for. And now I've been released on protective bail, that I can't talk to say this person's name anymore where I went. So it's really about silencing. I think this whole thing was trying to silence me. They weren't happy that I went to the media and was proud about it. But my whole point of that stunt is to bring people together, let everyone know that we're not ashamed and we won't have our fishing taken off us. So that's all that was. It wasn't, I didn't do no damage or nothing.
The one thing that I've seen as a consistent pattern here is the attack on not just food security, but industries, obviously, that are predominantly run by men. And this is another thing, is like when you're going to shackle a nation or hobble men, the best thing to do is take away their sense of empowerment, their purpose. Timber industry, again, it's predominantly, it was run by males. Fishing industry, predominantly males. Farming industry, predominantly males. What a great way to try and disempower a whole nation, to make us nothing but consumers and eaters. We have no food security, and we've just disemboweled every male that felt like he had a purpose in life. He felt proud of his life. He was able to provide for his family, and now you've just gone and destroyed it. And I joined those dots some time ago, as soon as I found out who was going over from the timber industry to this industry, the exact same. And the thing is that I just said, this is all part of the WEF agenda. And whether people want to acknowledge that, whether they've done their own research, but the best way to destroy a nation and its sense of identity is to cause division and cause disempowerment. And that's exactly 100%. What it is. As well as then, you know, they're trying to take off firearms off people who desperately do need them to make sure that they've got injured animals and that kind of stuff, that they can make sure that they're put down humanely.
That's it. Topic of firearms is there. One of my mates that joined us down out there with the shark heads and that, the other 2 also had their house raided, same way. But one of my mates, he had his firearms license. His license had expired by 2 weeks. He hadn't jumped on and done the renewal. So when they raided the house, they initially found the firearms and they classified them as illegal, unregistered firearms. So they charged him with that. But once he was released back home, he jumped online and was able to do the registration, which made him legal again. They'd still seized him, whatever. But on the same sense, while they're cracking down on the gun safety, if they were happy enough to charge him for having unregistered firearms, which were registered, wouldn't it be safe to say it's pretty poor on the police side, because they've got a record of who's got guns and who's got licenses, because they come out and do checks. Wouldn't it be a pretty big failure on their side to allow these firearms to be unregistered in the community? So it's kind of they want to point the finger at him. Well, it's pointing the finger back at them. You've allowed these firearms out in the community to be unregistered. So yeah, it's quite a big topic on that one, the firearms. I find it quite funny how they're trying to crack down, but I guarantee you there are so many firearms out there registered, unregistered, that they got no clue about. I know old farmers that have passed away, and they had their firearms still had in the safe, and it's been many years. They were registered firearms. The farmers passed away, and then firearms still to this day sit in that safe. Haven't been signed over. The lady doesn't know what to do with them. She still uses them on her property. But that just goes to show how incompetent the WA police and the WA government, or the government in general, is. You look out north of Perth, there's a big manhunt for a man that shot his wife in the hand. They went to his house and he had 16 firearms in his house. It just goes to show that they've got no clue what's happening in Australia, and they're just trying to clamp down to make it look like they are. It's all intimidation tactics and control.
Well, the government's consistently incompetent, I would suggest. The other thing, that I find interesting when you're talking about this demersal fishing ban in Western Australia, and also the gun situation, because the people on the East Coast are alarmed because they want to change the gun laws. Well, Western Australia did that 12 months ago. We were the testing ground, but and in New South Wales they're introducing another gun buyback and all these sorts of things. Well, the interesting thing is about the fishing ban is the government's introduced what's called a support package, and there's a license buyback, fishing license buyback, compensation, financial assistance. I mean, are people sick and tired of these support packages, which actually undermine the freedoms of people, whether or not you own a gun or whether or not you're a fisherman?
So a fine example of how unwilling they are to cooperate with the industries. Recently, I've seen on the Southwestern Seafood page, they're an operator in the Southwest. They're a shark boat. I've seen on their page that one of their skippers, Jason, he had bought a license. Unfortunately, a shark fisherman in the Southwest had passed away. He had a boat and license. Jason had went to go buy that boat. He bought the boat, done the paperwork with the fisheries, signed it all over. A week later, they notify him that his fishery shut down, that he paid that license for, that he can't use that boat, he can't use that. So that to me is scam. Like, if you look up what scamming is, fraud, 100%. They've sold him something that he can't use. You buy, let's just say, 10 boxes of fish fillets, right? You want to buy 10 boxes of fish fillets off them, all 10 kilos each. You get them, they arrive at your warehouse, and all of a sudden you've just got 10 kilos of packing boxes because you've just accidentally misread the label wrong, and they've scammed you into buying that many boxes. So who's at fault? The seller, of course, because it's misleading information. So it's corruption at its finest on how they've treated our fishermen. Many of the fishing boats I've spoken to already, I've had a lot of them reach out with their support. They say previously in the history, they've never been compensated. A lot of them are still waiting for compensation. There's been many closures that have happened, and they've always been bum steered. They're still waiting on the sea line closure compensation, the Esperance closure compensation. Back when they had the Bovards bidding up, Metro region closed, they got paid about 15 cents to the dollar on what they were worth with that. So history shows that they never get compensated correctly.
My concern is Mason, is that the damage. I've heard from quite a few fishermen. I've already done quite a few interviews, and that situation with Jason came up in that interview, how They failed in all of that. They have their own processes and procedures where they're supposed to give so many days, weeks, months notice of a closure of a fishery prior to, and they failed on all counts. So I hope that person gets themselves a really good lawyer and they sue their ass off, because this government certainly deserves it. Mason, what's the feedback from the fishermen, their mental health and well-being? Because this is the one thing that I see is an utter disgrace, that you could cancel an entire industry pretty much overnight without any consultation, transparency in the data, how, when, why, what that looked like. How is that going for people that you're talking to?
That's actually a real tough topic that hits quite hard. I'm a rec fisherman at the moment. I come from a commercial background, but I've got many friends, family that still in the commercial. They own small businesses, but I've got guys that I've got to ring every day, every night to check that they're still alive and they're kicking and they've still got the energy to go. A lot of them I know one of my mates recently, he had to have a breakaway. He admitted that he tried to overdose. I've had ones say that they've considered hanging themselves. It's a big topic that's hidden and swept under the carpet. It's not affecting me. I don't have nothing to lose besides my fishing rights. But for me, I couldn't stand here or sit in my bed at night and think I haven't fought for trying to help save my mates. If one of them did happen to go down, I'd feel so guilty that I had done nothing. But the government just sweeps all the mental health side away. It's not just money, it's people's livelihood, it's their generation. Some of these guys, it's like I said, it's generational. It's all they know. It's been passed down their family. What are they meant to do? I mean, there's a guy down Augusta, he's a deckhand. He's not going to get no compensation. He's worked deckhand for 27 years. He's now washing windows to be able to feed his family. And that kills a man that used to be proud of his profession and what he'd done. He never wanted to own a boat and that. He's been a deckhand because that's what he's loved and done. He's now just been left because he doesn't know nothing else. He's been left to wash windows. That's absolutely devastating. It's a big issue.
What I want people to take away from this is that the heartlessness, the coldness, the calculation, that there is just no care for the impact on this as far as I can see. But I want all of those that might be watching that are in that industry to know that we are still fighting. Even though you might not see it out there, we are fighting behind the scenes, and there's a lot of meetings going on, and we will make sure that the demersal ban is overturned. Absolutely. In areas that there needs to be some closures, or some areas that need to watch their catch numbers, fair enough. But why the hell was WAFIC not doing its job from the beginning? Please explain. Man, that's what you paid for.
WAFIC's failed the fishermen big time. Back when it all first started, there was a statement they released saying that they acknowledged that half the fishermen are going to drop off. In a statement like that is just pretty disgusting itself, saying that the way they said it, that they're going to drop off, is they don't care.
It seems to me that the government and the people who instruct the Western Australian government have just upped it a level, because let's not forget a few years ago when the mandates rolled out, remember our politicians were telling us it's your choice not to partake in an experiment will have consequences, right? So people had to make a choice whether you would comply. And then people like myself and many in the audience, we lost our career that we'd been working in, for me, all of my life, because I knew what I wanted to do when I was very young. And actually it damaged me I still have PTSD from that. But they've upped it a level. From what I'm hearing, Mason, you're talking about the gentleman who was a deckhand for over 20 years and now is washing windows. They haven't said to these people, fishers or deckhands or anyone in the industry, look, this is your choice, blah, 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 blah. No, they've just gone, hey, mate, it's over. Sorry about that. See you later. They've really upped their game to just bend people. They're not even bending people over. They're just totally disregarding.
They're just pulling the trigger.
Yeah, it's they've leveled up, haven't they?
Yep, 100%. They don't want the people to unite. They don't want us, everyone. And I think that's why they've tactically drawn it out. They do the farmers, they do the firearms, they do the forestry. It's individual. Whereas if they had to try to do it all at once, imagine the uproar from the people. But the Greens have a big play in this too, and the mining moguls. We haven't even really touched on where the power's coming from.
Mentioning his name.
Yeah, well, I've got his name, Triggy Forrest, all over my stuff. And funnily enough, I've had all my social medias silenced. He's been, funnily enough, his scientists have been down off Albany on his private research vessel. What's he doing private vessel? Why did it spend 2 days off Augusta, travelling 3 knots around up and down the coast there? A study vessel. There's a lot of questions. Then all of a sudden, a few days later, a Chinese fishing vessel comes in.
Yeah.
That hung around for a week and gone back out to its ghost fleet out 200 miles off Australian coasts. But that's definitely where the power is coming from. And the push to the Greens, mining moguls, as we know, Labor lay in bed with Greens at the moment to carry the votes and get stuff across. That's why marine parks are coming in place. Greens are getting a lot of numbers start behind them at the moment, especially over east. So they sit hand in hand. A lot of people think they're sending their votes there, but it doesn't make a difference. They all want the same thing. As long as they're getting their marine parks, they get their money. That person can build his mine over there. That's all good. They're not paying tax, giving it back to us. A point I'll just point out is Western Australia, they shut down for COVID. Why didn't the rest of Australia shut down their borders or anything like that? Is it because we've only got the mining resource that provide the rest of the world? We've got the taxes, apparently, for our people, but the mines were still able to operate. Where's our money gone? Why aren't we rich like you look at Norway? Why are all their people set second they slide out, second they're born? They're pretty much $500,000 richer. Yeah. Their people are that well off because they look after, like they tax these mining moguls. We're just letting them get away. We pay for their cleanup. We pretty much pay them to take stuff out our ground and send it to China. Why aren't we looked after? Why are we so homeless? Why does the government keep getting better and better, richer and richer, and we get poorer and poorer?
You touched on the thing that most people are unaware of, Mason, and that is if another nation recognise that we have an untapped resources in our oceans, they can come into our EEZ, which is our economic exclusion zone marine area, and they can come and take our fish that we are not allowed to take. They can come and take them without any management, any sustainability practices, anything, and our government will let them. Wake up, Australia.
That's
if
why
you
that
think
vessel,
this was what this was about, you are kidding yourselves.
The vessel that was hanging down off Augusta was exactly 32 nautical miles out.
Correct.
The zone that you were talking about goes out to 30 miles. So they were there pretty much testing the waters to see how Australia will respond. No one responded to them.
I did. I added them.
Yeah. Commercial guys were reporting it, and there was no government response. There was no fisheries. There were no vessels sent down to move them on. They were allowed to fish there for 1 whole week. So it's a test of the waters. They're coming in for it. They're going to start taking our food. Jewfish in the Asian market is sitting about $250. So per kilo. You get a 20-kilo jewfish, you're talking some pretty big numbers now.
Oh, this government's got some explaining to do.
Amongst all the reasons why, there's so many that, go through your head when you consider why they would lock West Australian fishers out of the ocean. But would another one be that, because there's these vessels around and they can take what they want, they don't want West Australian fishers having eyeballs and possibly videoing and producing evidence of what these vessels are doing?
Yeah.
And the wind turbine industry.
And the wind turbine. Well, it's funny you say for people to see and visually see it is when you're standing on land, you can usually see about 20 mile. Cape Naturalists, you can see from Bunbury. Cape Naturalist from Bunbury is 45 mile, I believe. You can see Cape Naturalist on a real nice day. This wind turbine's only going to be 30 mile out. They're still peaked up above the ocean. So from Bunbury, you're going to be able to see them. Cape Naturalist, where they got the lookout and they get everyone to go look at the ocean and all the beautiful views, you're going to look out and see a wind turbine farm out there. Everyone thinks they're going to be hidden. They're not. But it's definitely along the same lines. They don't want people out there to see the up close and personal stuff and photos. Just over Queensland the other day, they had one of these trawlers in near the Great Barrier Reef. People were taking videos of the small fish, the bycatch, the stuff that wasn't legal, all drifting past. And it wasn't just 1, 2, it was thousands of fish, all small, probably 10 to 15 centimetres long.
Mason, what you just touched on before about the visibility and the wind turbines at close proximity, down near Dunsborough and Cape Naturalist is the closest it's going to be. That's the closest that the land will be to the wind turbines. This week, the local government, so City of Bunbury, City of Bustleton, please explain how is it that bylaws have been changed so that farmers can no longer build houses too close to wind turbines because they've acknowledged that wind turbine syndrome actually causes harm. So the wind turbines cause harm to human health, but we're going to put it in a tourist mecca and capital of the world. We're going to put it over an area that should be protected for the birthing of whales. And the fact that this is now what all of these maybe, extinction level fish, but that doesn't matter anymore because it's not going to harm them either. Like, come on, you can't cook the books both ways. That's what we know. Mr. Bowen, Mr. Watts, you need to get in touch with Mrs. Jarvis or Mrs. Jarvis and have a chat because you can't say that one thing's going extinct when it's actually not, and the other things that are protected and should be protected aren't going to be. So it needs to be one thing or the other, not cook it both ways.
100%. And the fishing ban and the wind turbines just coincide with each other. It's the perfect cover-up for the Dongara. We've talked about the Southwest, but we haven't even really spoke about
look, we could be here for hours, honestly, Mason, couldn't we? I think we'll have part 2.
Definitely. But they want to do seismic blasting in Dongara, another breeding ground for this fish, jewfish, crayfish. So there's so many effects that they want to do, but it lays inside with what they want to do. So, yeah.
There was another area that just got the go-ahead for installing wind turbines, and they decided that they didn't need to do any. Was it the EPA?
Yeah.
That they don't need to do.
Just out Scott River, just down near Augusta, just south of Augusta, Scott River got approved. The locals, they've swept that one under the carpet. The locals are very, very angry. But it's a section where they, don't need a flora or fauna report.
What the heck? I'm just like, what year are we living in? This is like dark ages stuff. I just shake my head. Like, it's just like we know better, we expect better, and yet this government fails us time and time again, gaslighting us. They do virtual signaling with all of it. And that's what I saw, that whole, they've got a couple of kids in a tinny going, if we don't look after it now for future generations, we'll have nothing. It's like, what? It's like, that's just virtue signaling. Take one in the arms so that we all don't die and we can go see Nana. So you don't kill Nana. Remember that one? So we don't kill Grandma and Grandpa? Yeah, well, unfortunately, that didn't work either. That was all a lie. On that note, unfortunately, I do need to leave because I'm at my maximum this side. My phone's going flat.
Oh, thank you for having us on your show, and I would definitely love to have a part 2 with you. It's been great talking to you. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would welcome people back in the comments as well, Martin. Unfortunately, we can't answer your questions right now, but we will have a part 2. Thank you very much for joining me, Mason and Martine. Thank you, Martine, for organising this as well, because it is very important. And thanks, everybody, in the comments and joining us and watching the replay.
Thank you.
All righty, make sure you'll stay relentless.
I've got many socials too at the moment that I've had to keep creating because they keep trying to silence me. But yeah, I've got many socials too, guys, with many of these topics.
Go follow Mason on Facebook.
Send them through on the email and I'll pop them up. Awesome.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Take care. Bye.